Taking action for our planet, this year's Earth Day is about investing in a greener, cleaner and sustainable future. Housing prices are still rising, but there are signs that buyers are thinking twice before entering the market. And ERIK has his work cut out at Manchester United as its 5th manager in 9 years. Good evening, you're watching The Big Story with me, Haryanto Diman. Subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you will not miss a single episode. Earth Day falls on April 22nd each year. And wherever you are in the world, we can all do our part to make a difference. The theme this year, Invest in Our Planet, calls on everyone to choose, support and invest in green business policies and practices. So, what can you do on this Earth Day? Pick up the trash while you run, switch to reusable bags, or perhaps test drive an electric vehicle. Or even taking part in a beach cleanup or reducing your amount of waste. These are just a few things suggested by Sustainability and Environment Minister Grace Fu in a social media post commemorating the occasion. Whatever you're up to, there are lots of ways to help tackle the climate crisis. And in an Earth Day roundtable organized by the Straits Times, panelists discuss the biggest opportunities for Singapore in this climate crisis. Here's a snippet and you can watch the full thing on our YouTube channel.
Right now, in global climate change discourse, we have seen so many net zero targets from countries and companies. Not many of them have action plans. But I must say, so far, when the Singapore Green Plan was first launched last year, I didn't think much of it, right? To me, it just seemed like a compilation of existing sustainability initiatives. But over the past year and a half, you can really see a huge change in the way climate change has been treated, even though we are facing COVID, even though we are facing a global energy crisis. For example, since we're talking about energy comprises 40% of our total emissions. If we can bring this down to net zero by 2050, which the report said was reasonable for us to do so, that would really reduce a lot of our emissions and put us in a closer position to achieve our national net zero target. The other lion's share will be industrial emissions. We recently heard during the budget that our carbon tax is going to go up to a level that many people were taken by surprise. When the budget announcement was made, a carbon trader messaged me and was like, wow. So I think all these really shows that Singapore is committed to tackling climate change, and while we were late in the game in announcing our net zero by or around mid-century target, we had all our ducks in a row now. So I think that is an opportunity to show the world that Singapore, despite our constraints, despite our dependence on imports for energy, water and food, we still can overcome these constraints through technology, through our financial flows, through greater societal understanding of the changes that are needed.
2 JTC officers were charged today over the alleged excessive clearing of KRANJI woodland discovered last year. Chong Pui Chih, who was Deputy Director at the time, was handed 7 charges under the Parks and Trees Act. While Neo Jek, a senior project manager, was handed 8 charges, 7 under the Parks and Trees Act and 1 under the Wildlife Act. The issue was highlighted after aerial photos of the cleared site appeared on social media last year, creating a public uproar. A third person, Tan Si Chi, an employee from consultancy firm CPG Consultants, was also charged today. And a 4th CPG Consultants employee is expected to be charged at a later date as he is currently on hospitalization leave. In other news, HDB resale prices rose 2.4% in the first quarter of this year, a slower pace than the 3.4% in the previous 3 months. Analysts say this could be a sign that some price resistance is forming, with potential interest rate hikes and rising inflation discouraging people from buying property. It's the same story in the private residential market. Prices rose 0.7% in the first quarter compared with the 5% jump in the previous 3 months. Sales of new private homes, excluding executive condos, fell nearly 40% as cooling measures kicked in and foreign investors stayed away. Overseas, Thailand will scrap the mandatory on-arrival PCR test for travellers and replace it with an ART. This change essentially also does away with foreigners needing to reserve a one-night hotel accommodation while they wait for their PCR results. No details yet of when the new measures will take effect, but the Thai Health Ministry has previously said COVID-19 testing rules will be relaxed from May 1st. Shanghai is stepping up enforcement of lockdown measures in the form of 9 actions, which are adopted from today with the aim of achieving zero community spread. And once COVID-19 transmission outside quarantined areas is stamped out, the city's government says it will lift the lockdown in batches. One of the biggest open secrets in the footballing world is finally out. Manchester United have appointed Erik ten Hag as their manager, making him the club's 5th manager in the 9 years since Alex Ferguson retired, with each of them lasting not more than 3 years. Ten Hag, who currently manages Ajax, has signed a contract for 3 years until June 2025, with the option for a further year. He will take over at the end of the season and describes his new job as a great honor. We now speak to sports journalist Deepanraj Ganesan on what he makes of the appointment. Deepan, the managerial search was a long, drawn-out process. Have Manchester United made the right decision with this appointment?
I think so. Definitely, when a new manager comes in, there's a lot of excitement, a lot to look forward to. And I think it's the same case with Erik ten Hag at the moment. You look at his teams at Ajax or even the previous times at Bayern Munich B. I think he's always had an aggressive side, a team that has a young core, and he's played good football with his teams. And I think Manchester United fans can expect that as well in the Premier League. But I think at the end of the day, United fans would be fatigued to some extent because, we've had new managers over the last few years as well. Louis van Gaal has come in, Jose Mourinho has come in, David Moyes has come in as well, and it hasn't always worked out the way United have wanted to. So again, there will be a bit of pessimism with this appointment as well. But overall, I think this is a bit of a departure to the previous appointments in the sense where they're looking to employ a coach who has a modern philosophy. I think the previous coaches have somewhat been traditional, so as to speak, whereas Erik ten Hag comes in with wanting to play positive brand of football, I would say.
What are the biggest issues you reckon awaiting Ten Hag with this new job?
Look, I think Erik ten Hag has got his work cut out for him. I think there are not one, not two, but several issues at hand to fix. First and foremost would be players, right? Because right now they have individuals in the squad, not a team. And Erik ten Hag will have to form a team first and foremost. You look at recent performances against some of the big clubs in the Premier League, against Liverpool most recently. You saw 11 individuals out there. It was not a team at all. So that is issue number one. And secondly, you've got Captain Harry Maguire, who's been on a bad run of form. He has to decide, Ten Hag, what to do right now. And if he decides to part ways with his captain, then the appointment of the next leader will be crucial as well. So these are the two most important things. But I think there's a third issue here, which he will need to address as well. So you look at Liverpool when they first appointed Jurgen Klopp. One of the first things that Jurgen Klopp talked about was actually forming a bond with the fans again, because he saw that the squad and the fans were disrupted in a sense of not really being together. And right now, I think Erik ten Hag will find a set of fans who are not really behind the team at the moment. So he needs to form the bond again, and this will come through good performances, good results, and then the fans will get behind the team again. But definitely a lot of issues for him to fix right away.
Deepan, thank you so much for your perspectives. Sports journalist Deepanraj Ganesan. Visit straitstimes.com for more news and our YouTube channel for more videos. Subscribe by hitting the red button below. I'm Haryanto Diman. Have a good weekend and we'll see you next week.